How's it going out there, YouTubers? Cyberneticshark here with another new movie review for you. So let's get right to this most anticipated movie of the year review. So welcome to an all-new review there, YouTube land. I think. Nah, I don't know. Anyways, welcome to an all-new review there, YouTube landers. So this awesome review is the most anticipated film of the year so far. This actually came out about almost 4 weeks ago already, and I'm just finally getting around to putting up my review. Number one reason would be is because everyone was like, don't spoil the movie, don't give us spoilers, don't say anything about it. So I thought, well, I'll give it a while before I put up my review of it. Now that it's been almost a month it's been out, I think that we're good and in the clear, and we should be good for this film. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry. Spoilers ahead. Anyway, so the movie I'm going to be talking about today is not only 11 years of a culmination of an awesome franchise, an awesome just movie place that has made some of the greatest films and started back in 2008. And that, of course, is the awesome film Avengers Endgame. Oh yeah. So the culmination of those 11 years and all those 21 films have come to a culmination now. So this awesome film was such an amazing film. I'm so glad they made it 3 hours long because they were able to get quite a bit in and kind of wrap things up for people, kind of give us a, what we were looking for a little bit, and also to kind of be able to go back and reminisce about old, previous films that they were able to re-show in this film. And I just love where all the characters went. A couple of them, of course, I'm just like, that was stupid, why did they do that? But other than that, the movie was just an amazing film. Now, this movie was none other directed by the awesome and amazing, the Russo brothers. Oh yeah. So the Russo brothers have been with Marvel for a while now. They've done quite a few films for them. They've, ventured off and did some other, films too as well, but they also have been a lot of, executive producing of films too, and have helped write certain films and so forth. Now, a couple films I really enjoyed that they have made as directors is none other than the awesome second Captain America film that I think is probably the best MCU film to date. I believe that this film is probably in my top 3 films of the MCU, and just such an amazing film. And that, of course, is the awesome Captain America film, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Oh yeah, the Winter Soldier. Oh yeah. So the Captain America, the Winter Soldier, people, it's just a really awesome and amazing film. I remember going to see this in theaters in 2014 and just remember, walking out and was like, holy crap, this movie is amazing. And I just thought that the Russos did such an amazing job with it. The action in it, the story, the complexity of the characters was just so amazing. And they just flushed it out so well. Because, don't get me wrong, Captain America 1, the first Avenger, was a decent film. But, Joe Johnston really put a lot of kind of like camp into it. Versus this one where they really, tried to go for more of a realistic and almost a dramatic action flick feel to it. But still, at the same time, the other film was really well done, but this one was so spectacular. And, they couldn't top it, really, I feel. I mean, even with the other films that they've directed, I feel that this is still their best directing, viewing of a movie that they've done for the MCU. Because this movie was just so awesome, and I loved everyone that was involved. Robert Redford, Sam Jackson was in it. I thought it was really awesome. You had the introduction of Falcon in this one. You still had Natasha in it. She was awesome in it as well. It just was a really well-established film, and I thought that the Russo brothers just did an amazing job with this film and gave us this really great sequel to an already established Marvel film series that was just, waiting to explode, and this really helped the MCU explode even before, even after Iron Man was the number one, first film that they was a part of the Marvel Universe, still I feel that this even pushed it beyond. It just was an amazing film. If you haven't seen The Winter Soldier yet, people, definitely check it out. It's worth the watch. Now that brings me to the second film the Russo brothers directed that I really enjoyed, and it is also another Marvel film. Now this film I feel is not as good as Winter Soldier, but still was a fantastic film. I feel that the Russos didn't top themselves on this one. I feel they kept it pretty evenly laced for this film, but still was a really fun ensemble film, and I still feel that this should be considered an Avengers film. Simply for the fact that everyone from the Avengers was pretty much in this one. And that, of course, is the film Captain America Civil War. Oh, yeah, Civil War. So, I really feel this is Avengers 2.5. It really was like just an extension from Age of Ultron, I feel. And this film was just so awesome and amazing. Really well directed by the Russos. Once again, they brought it. They gave us a great storyline, great action sequences, great, character development. Gave us these great scenes that were really interesting, and just really gave us this another amazing Captain America film that just really, put Chris Evans on top as Captain America. And I just think that this was just a really fantastic film, really well directed by them, and just did a really great job. And just such a great ensemble cast too. I mean, everyone was involved in this one. That was in, Avengers Age of Ultron. And it just was a really fun film. Really well directed by the Russos, and they did a great job, but not as good as their first outing with Winter Soldier. Now, when it comes to directing Endgame, they did a great job, simply for the fact that they made it so beautiful and so cohesive. I love how well the movie flowed and how well the story developed. And I just feel like I was sitting there thinking, oh, this movie's 3 hours long. That's going to seem like a long time. But watching it, it didn't feel like 3 hours, and I couldn't believe that because that's just how well they directed it and made it flow. It had a great presence. I loved, like I said, where they took it, what they did with it. A couple things I didn't care for. I thought it was stupid, and they shouldn't have gone that direction. But other than that, I thought that the Russos did a fantastic job directing this film and making a great conclusion to Infinity War, of course. Just those two films actually being kind of one cohesive film. Between the two, they're, like 5 hours long, almost 6 hours long. And it's one long 6-hour movie, but that did not feel like 6 hours. And you just love, what they did. I love the humor they brought to it. And I just felt that they directed the crap out of it. I think they're even a better director than definitely the first two Avenger films, Avenger 1 and Avenger 2 Age of Ultron. I feel that they were way better directors than Joss Whedon was with the films. I think I like the way they directed the films. I like how they took them. And I like how they made them more action-y and gave us the story along with the action versus where Whedon kind of did action, but he did a lot more storytelling in his ones, I feel, and I don't feel that he had the same awesome direction the Russos did too. And so I think the Russos just are amazing directors. Really well done, really love what they did with the film series, and looking forward to more from them. So this movie had an all-star cast. I mean, everyone from every single Marvel film was in this film. And that was a feat of itself. Probably one of the hugest ensemble cast I've seen in a movie in years, and I think they did a fantastic job with it. So to start off with this awesome cast, we have none other than the man that started Marvel himself, the man that made the first Marvel film and ended with this one, fortunately his character's arc has seen its, pretty much its end in this film. Hopefully that's not true, but who knows? We don't know where it's going to go because with what happened in Endgame, the timeline has been skewed, so we don't know what's real and what's not. So hopefully we'll get to see this character and this actor again in the Marvel Universe. And that, of course, is Mr. Robert Downey Jr. Oh yeah, a.k.a. Iron Man. So, of course, Robert Downey Jr. is probably one of the greatest actors, comedians, that's a part of the Marvel Universe. I absolutely love this man. I think he's one of the best actors around. I love everything he does. And I was so thrilled as hell when I found out he was going to be Iron Man. And I knew that he was going to do a fantastic job, and he did. He brought it. I love every entry of Iron Man that he's portrayed. Really loved him in Homecoming. I loved the way he took his character there. I love where he took his character in Infinity War, Endgame. Every single time we've seen him as Iron Man, he's just been so awesome. And of course, he really brought to life Tony Stark and gave us, the real live action version of Tony Stark, especially from the pages of the comic books. I mean, he really had it down to the T exactly what Tony Stark was in the comics, what he's been shown in the comic movie films, cartoon versions and so forth. He really is embodied, Iron Man and Tony Stark, and he just was so amazing. And I don't see anybody else as Iron Man ever. He's most definitely going to be the only original and only Iron Man. Kind of like how Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker. Nobody else will be Luke Skywalker. Just like Harrison Ford is the real Holy Solo and Han Solo, and nobody else will be the original Han Solo. That's how I feel about Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. He is Iron Man. He will always be Iron Man. Now, a couple of films I really enjoyed him in that aren't Marvel films, he was really fantastic in, were none other than an awesome film that came out a few years ago. I would say, about I think it's been 10 years now, maybe 11, since it came out. But this movie is just an awesome film directed by Ben Stiller, a great comedy action film that's absolutely hilarious, has a great cast, had Jack Black in it, it had Tom Cruise in it, it had Ben Stiller in it, Jay Baruchel, a huge cast. That was just a really funny, awesome film. And that, of course, is the awesome film called Tropic Thunder. Oh yeah, absolutely love this film. It's so stinking funny, so hilarious. Absolutely thought it was just an amazing film. Really funny, and I just absolutely loved Robert Downey Jr. in it. He was so stinking funny as Kirk Lazarus, and he just cracked me up so hard because he was like literally playing a character and a character and a character, and he just like was so over the top and so stinking funny, and just really showed how great acting and comedy chops he has. And I just think he was so fantastic in this film. Really well done, really great performance, and just a really fun film. If you haven't seen Tropic Thunder, definitely check it out, people. It's worth the watch. So that brings me to the second film Robert Downey Jr. was in that I absolutely think he was fantastic in. This is none other than an awesome holiday film that came out back in the early 90s, mid-90s I would say, 95 I believe. And this film was just really funny, had a great ensemble cast, and he just played such a great titular character in the film and just was so stinking funny. And that, of course, is the film led by none other than Miss Incredible herself, the voice of her, Holly Hunter. And that, of course, is the film Home for the Holidays. Oh, yeah. This movie is absolutely stinking funny. Anne Bancroft was in it. You had Robert Downey Jr., you had Dylan McDermott, you had Holly Hunter in it. You just had this great ensemble cast. Claire Danes was in it, and it just was like a super funny film that was, basically about this family getting together at the holidays and all their crazy intricities of the family and coming together for the holidays, but still like yelling and bashing each other in and stuff like that. It was just a great kind of holiday comedy film. And Robert Downey Jr. plays the brother of Holly Hunter in the film, who is gay, and he just is so stinking funny as the character. Oh my god, I was laughing so hard every time I watched this film. And he played the character to the T. He was just so perfect and so funny and just did a really great job with the film. And I thought he was really fantastic in it. I think it's a very underrated performance of his that he doesn't get enough knowledge for. And I think he just was really fantastic in it. If you haven't seen Home for the Holidays, definitely check it out, people. It's worth the watch. Really funny, really great. Great around the holidays and great even when it's not the holidays. Just a really fun film. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, people. It's worth the watch. Now, when it comes to his performance, of course, in Endgame, it was spectacular. It was one of the best performances, I feel, of his entire Iron Man career. He really brought a whole new light to the character. He gave us this whole cool kind of conclusion to the character, kind of living out his whole full life in this film. You got to see him being sick. You got to see him being happy. You got to see him be, the awesome Iron Man he is and use more of his gadgets. And he just was so intense and awesome in this film. Really amazing, really fun. It was great to see him in all the different capacities in this film. And he just was really amazing as usual. Once again, he will be the one and only Iron Man, and he was so awesome in this. Definitely worth the watch if you're a huge Robert Downey Jr. fan. He was so good in it. Really worth the watch for Robert Downey Jr. in this film. That brings me to the next actor in this awesome ensemble cast. Now, this guy is pretty much kind of the other leader of the pack of this awesome franchise. And he has been in 3 of his own solo films, just like Robert Downey Jr. has. He's also been, has cameos in a few of the other film series in the Marvel Universe. And just a really awesome actor, a really cool person in real life, and just a really cool, action star and dramedy and comedy and everything he does. He's just really awesome. And that, of course, is Mr. Chris Evans. Now, Chris Evans, you might recognize, of course, as Captain America. You might recognize him from a slew of other films like Not Another Teen Movie or London or the film called The Perfect Score and so forth. But a couple of films I really enjoyed him in and thought he was fantastic in was none other than an awesome film that came out, I believe, in 2004 or 2005. And this is an awesome, kind of thriller action type of flick starring Jason Statham, Kim Basinger, William H. Macy. Just a really cool ensemble cast. Jessica Biel was in it. Just a really fun film. And that, of course, is a film called Cellular. Oh, yeah. If you haven't seen Cellular, definitely check this movie out, people. It's such an amazing film. I think it's one of his best in his repertoire. I think he's just really awesome in this film. I love his character. I love where he takes it. I love how it showed his dramatic element to him, that he had that ability. I love that it showed he had a little bit of comedy to him. I love that showed that he was an action star. It just was a really well-rounded film, and it's just a really awesome thriller, and I thought everyone involved was really good in it. And he just really protruded through it as one of the main characters in the film, and his relationship and his acting along with Kim Basinger and everyone that was involved, he just did such an amazing job. Really well done performance by Chris, and definitely check this one out if you haven't seen it, people. Now that brings me to the second film that Chris Evans was in that I thought he was fantastic in. And that is none other than an awesome, based on comic book film, brought to the big screen that had another huge ensemble cast. He got to work with Zoe Saldana in this film. He worked with, a whole bunch of other great actors, that are just awesome actors and actresses and just were all awesome. Idris Elba was in the film. Just a really fun, awesome kind of comic book adaptation film. And that, of course, is the film called The Losers. Oh, yeah. If you haven't seen The Losers, this is a must-see, people. This movie was a really awesome comic book film that I feel was very underrated, didn't get enough acknowledgement for how fun it was and how awesome, and just how well they brought the comic book to life. It's almost kind of like along the lines of Watchmen, I feel. It's that same type of genre of bringing comic books to life that had a really dark grit to it, but at the same time it had a really great comedy element to it, lots of great action, lots of great story, and just a really fun film. And Chris Evans' character was just so stinking funny. And I think the funniest part about it is that in the whole movie, pretty much, he has this little beard chin going on, no mustache or anything, just a beard chin, and I think that was the funniest look I've seen him have in a film, and I just think he looked kind of stupid, but at the same time, I think it was kind of to give him kind of a comical edge too, because his character's kind of supposed to be comical in the film, along with being this badass guy kind of character, and so that was super funny, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and he just was really fun in it. I really enjoyed how he brought the character life, how he gave it, a life from the comic book strip, and just how he really made it an interesting film. It just was a really well-done action flick, and I really enjoyed it. So if that's something you haven't seen yet, people, definitely check it out, The Losers. It's a fun film and really fun. Now, it comes to Chris Evans and Endgame. Once again, he brought it. He gave us a great Captain America. I love that he shaved off the beard. He was no longer Nomad. He became Captain America again, and that he really brought to life again who Captain America was. And, basically it shows him passing on the shield to the next Captain America in the film. And I thought that was an interesting aspect of, and how they closed out his story arc. I thought it was quite interesting what they did with that too. And I just thought that Chris did a really great job with that. I thought that he was really fun in it again. And I just love where he took the character. I love how he became Rogers again. And he wasn't that, out of sorts nomad like he was in Infinity War. I love where he took it. I love that he became Captain America again and gave us the Chris Evans we remember from the other Captain America films, prior to Civil War. He just was so awesome again in it. Really enjoyed him, and he was just really fantastic and fun. Now that brings me to the next actor in our repertoire of awesomeness in this movie. And that, of course, is the awesome man himself that plays Mr. Hulk. Mr. Mark Ruffalo. Oh yeah! So Mark Ruffalo you might recognize from a few other films, like Rendition Road, or Rendition, it's called Rendition, not Rendition Road. You might recognize him from a few other things that he's done over the years. You might know him from his activism, which he's really awesome. He's such an amazing person. Absolutely love him. I think he's fantastic. And he's just a really fun and awesome person, too, as well. And he's just fun to listen to. But he just really, once again, brought to life Bruce Banner once again for us in this film. And I think he's been the best Bruce Banner to date. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bill Bixby was amazing in the original Hulk's TV series. He was awesome, but I think Mark Ruffalo has been the best since Bill Bixby was Bruce Banner. He's been so awesome as the character. Now, when it comes to his movie repertoire, a couple films I really enjoyed that he's been in is none other than an awesome film where he got to play with Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr. as well in a film that was directed by the great David Fincher. And that, of course, is the awesome, based on true story film, Zodiac. Oh yeah, this is just an amazing movie. Absolutely love it. I think it was just a really well done film, and I loved Mark Ruffalo as the character he was. And I just think that he really brought to life that character, that detective, that story person, and what he was dealing with while they were trying to find who the Zodiac was and so forth. And I just thought everyone that was involved worked really well together, and thought that Mark did a great job of portraying who he was and giving us that interesting kind of look into that character of that detective and how, like I said, what he had to deal with, who he worked with, and what he tried to do to try to capture the Zodiac. And, of course, the film, takes always, some films, they take a little liberties, but at the same time, for the most part, the movie was very accurate to the point. And I thought that all three characters really portrayed that very well, really brought that to life and gave, a new audience, what was involved with the Zodiac and how they haven't been able to capture him yet, and all that kind of good jazz. And it just was a really well done movie, and Mark Ruffalo was amazing in it. So the second film that Mark Ruffalo was in that I really enjoyed and thought he was really awesome in is an awesome movie that came out a few years ago that stars Julianne Moore and Annette Bening. And that, of course, is the film called The Kids Are All Right. Now, this film is just a really interesting film that really centers on a lesbian relationship that, where these two women basically get a sperm donor and, basically the children are now grown up. They decide they want to know who their actual, sperm donor is, who their father is, and they go looking for him, and that happens to be Mark Ruffalo's character in the film. Now, Mark Ruffalo, I thought, did an amazing job of the film. I love where his character went. I love how he took the character. I love his interaction with Annette Bening and Julianne Moore in the film. Also, I really enjoyed his relationship that he has with Mia Wasikowska in the film, and the other children that's in the film. And just, where they take the character. And just, what he does with the character and how he becomes involved in these kids' life and these women's life. And just basically gives us this interesting interpretation of, what, it is like to be a lesbian couple that is dealing with this type of situation when they either adopt or have, fertility given to them to be able to produce children, when they don't, they're not in a heterosexual relationship. And I thought that it was an amazing job with the film. I thought it was a really great film. And I just thought Mark did an amazing job with the film and did a really fun job with the character as well. Really well done film. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's worth the watch, people. It's a really decent movie. And just a really interesting take on what it's like to be those characters and what it's like to be in that type of situation in real life. Now, when it comes to Bruce Banner again, Mr. Mark Ruffalo, playing the awesome Bruce Banner, he did another amazing job with this film. He was so awesome as Hulk again. I love that they brought him in and made him Professor Hulk in this one. I thought that was a really cool and awesome reality to see. Seeing him always kind of in that physical form, but with the intelligence of Bruce Banner. That was a really cool thing. And I just love where he took the character and how he made him develop and how he brought kind of that story arc that he kind of started in Age of Ultron through Thor Ragnarok, and how he kind of brought it to a full close in this one. And I just thought it was really awesome and really well done by Mark, and I thought he was really awesome with his motion capture. I thought he did a really good job of giving us some great one-liners, lots of great comedy, but along with some great, like, just lines that were just so much fun and hilarity. He just did an amazing job. He was really awesome in the film, and I really enjoyed him, and I love where they took the Hulk in this film. So next up on this awesome roster of actors and actresses, we have none other than a gorgeous beauty herself that has been Miss Black Widow from Iron Man 2, and has just been so awesome. Love this character, love how she's developed it, and just think she's a fantastic actress. And then, of course, is Miss Scarlett Johansson. Oh, yeah. So Scarlett Johansson you might recognize from a slew of films over the years. You might recognize her, from being Black Widow. You might recognize her from such films as Rough Night. You might recognize her from The Perfect Score. You might recognize her from a few other films over the years. And just as a really fun actress, she was in, as a younger actress, she was in that Robert Redford movie, I think it's All About the Horses it was called, or something like that. But she has just been a great actress her whole life, and just as fun as hell. And I always enjoyed her playing Black Widow. I think she's really brought her to life, given her a great, comic book to movie, birth, and just did a really great job with the character. Now, a couple of films I really enjoyed her in and thought she was fantastic in was none other than an awesome Woody Allen film that came out in 2006, I believe, 2006 2005, starring the awesome Hugh Jackman. And that, of course, is the film called Scoop. Oh, yeah. Scoop is an amazing film. Absolutely love this film. Think it's just a really fun film. One of Woody Allen's best, I feel. I thought he had such a great string of movies through the mid-90s, through the early 2000s that were just really fun, and this was one of them. And it just was a really fun premise, too, where basically she's like this kind of like reporter type of person trying to find out if Hugh Jackman is the serial killer or not. And basically it's like this comedy element along with this kind of mystery thriller thing, and just I thought Scarlett was so fantastic in the film. I loved where she took the character. I love how she acted. I love how she interacted with everyone between Woody Allen and Hugh Jackman, and just where she took the character. And I thought that she did a really fantastic job with this film. Really fun film if you haven't seen it. Scoop is an amazing film. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. One of Woody Allen's best. Now that brings me to the second film that Scarlett was in that I think is a really fun film. Now this next film that I think she was really awesome in was none other than this awesome film that came out, I think it was the early 2000s as well, late 90s. I think maybe it was 2002 I think it came out. But this movie was just a really awesome spider invasion movie. And it had been such a long time since I'd seen a really great, like, giant, spider movie. And this movie was just so stinking funny and fun, and I loved her in it. Thought she was a great supporting actress in it. And that, of course, is a film called Eight-Legged Freaks. Oh, yeah. Eight-Legged Freaks was such an awesome film. So funny, so hilarious, and just a really fun film. And I just thought she did a great job in the film. I love her interaction with Carrie Werr, and I love her interaction with, everyone else in the film. And I just thought that it was kind of a fun film to see her in, kind of as like a teenager type of character. And it just was a fun, all-around great film, especially if you're a huge fan of, like, giant bug movies or monster movies or anything like that. This is a great movie to check out. It had a lot of great comedy, lots of great action. Dougie Doug is in this movie. He's absolutely hilarious in it. Just a really fun film. David Arquette was really fun in it, too. If you haven't seen Eight-Legged Freaks, definitely check it out, people. It's worth a watch, especially if you love Scarlett Johansson, if you think she's gorgeous, if you just think she's awesome as an actress. Definitely check out this film for her. She is really fun in it, and a great performance by her. Now, it comes to her portrayal again of Black Widow in this film. She brought it to the T again. She really showed us the development that that Black Widow has, brought to us from Iron Man 2. Basically, how her character has evolved from that film all the way up through Infinity War, and just like what she has become, who she has become, and like basically what her mindset is. And I thought that she did a really great job of bringing that closure and bringing that to an end and giving us a full circle of who Black Widow is. And I just thought it was a really great performance. I really enjoyed her in it. And I don't like where they took the character, but at the same time, I really enjoyed her performance in it. I thought that she did a really great job. Definitely worth watching. If you haven't seen it in theaters yet, definitely go see it for her. She was fantastic and fun in it. So this brings me to the last awesome action icon of the film. Now, this gentleman is just an awesome person, just really fun, really excellent, and just a really amazing person and just fun actor and great at action films. And that, of course, is Mr. Chris Hemsworth. Oh, yeah. So Chris Hemsworth, if you don't recognize, you might recognize as Thor, of course, but you also might recognize him from a few other films that he's done over the years. I think one of the great films that he's done that was a great, like, cameo type of deal that was in great comedy was in Vacation that came out a few years ago. That was a really funny film and a great cameo that he did in it as that reporter and husband of, Rusty's sister. And he just was so awesome and funny in that and just so hilarious. But a couple of films I really enjoyed him and thought he was fantastic in was none other than an awesome film that came out a couple years ago, directed by Ron Howard. Now, this Ron Howard film is based off of a book that's based on a true story about the real story of Moby Dick and where Marvin Melville got his story from. And that, of course, is the film called In the Heart of the Sea. Oh, yeah. So this is the real story of this rogue whale that actually took out this whaling ship called the Essex. And Chris Hemsworth plays the first mate of the boat. And he just played the character to the T. He was so amazing, so awesome, and it was so great to see him kind of in a different type of role, a more dramatic role too. And I thought that he did such a great job of portraying this character and really giving us an idea of what that gentleman went through when this all happened back in the 1800s. And this was just a really interesting story too to begin with. The book is amazing, and I thought Ron Howard did a great job of bringing that book to life, and I thought Chris Hemsworth did a great job of bringing us that great performance and just working so well with everyone. He also got to work with Tom Holland and Cillian Murphy in this film too. So it was kind of funny that in, of course, Civil War, he wasn't in that film, but of course he got to interact with him in Infinity War and in Endgame. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing too. But at the same time, this is just a fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, people. It's worth the watch. A great book too. If you want a good read, definitely read the book. It's such an amazing book and just so well done. And I just thought that Chris Hemsworth did an amazing job with the performance. Really enjoyed it, and very glad that that movie got made and we got to see the real story of Moby Dick. Now that brings me to the second film that I really enjoyed that Mr. Chris Hemsworth was in. Now, this awesome film that I'm going to be talking about, I think is a great reboot / kind of sequel, kind of extension of the universe already. Don't get me wrong, the originals, of course, are always the best. It was the best cast. He had such an amazing cast. But at the same time, they had a really great ensemble, female actresses in this film, and I still thought it was a really decent film. And that, of course, is the 2016 reboot, Ghostbusters. Oh, yeah. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. There's something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. So anyways, this awesome film I thought was really well directed by Paul Feig. And I absolutely love Chris Hemsworth in this film. He was absolutely so hilarious. And the best part about this is the majority of his lines were actually him just improvising. And I thought that showed really great acting talent. And that's very hard to do. And so I thought that he did a great job with that and gave us this really hilarious character that paired so well with everyone that was in film, from Melissa McCarthy to Kristen Wiig to Kate McKinnon to Leslie Jones. They all worked so well together, and his character was just so freaking funny. And I was dying laughing every time I saw him on screen. And just some of the things that he does were so funny. So well done. So amazing, Chris Hemsworth in this film. If you haven't seen Ghostbusters reboot or, extension, definitely check out, people. Chris Hemsworth's performance is worth the watch of this character and this film. And he just was so awesome in it. Really enjoyed him in it and thought he did a fantastic job. Now, when it comes to his character Thor again in Endgame, I absolutely love where they took the character because I thought it was so stinking hilarious. And I love that they brought a huge comedy element to it that they brought over from Thor Ragnarok. And I love that, where they took Thor and how he proceeded and where he's going and what he's doing. And I thought that that was a great move by everyone involved, all the writers and stuff like that, and that they gave Thor a new life, basically. and brought him out of the slum from, basically, kind of the first Thor, which I thought was the worst of the Thor film series. And just, he got revived slowly from, Dark World to then Thor Ragnarok, and just brought him back to life and gave Thor a whole new storyline, basically. And I think this is a fantastic and amazing way, that they brought Thor to a whole new life, and I thought he was so fantastic in it. He just did a great job, so amazing. Love where he took the character, and just, I loved his evolution in this film, and thought that it was a perfect way to bring Thor to a whole new light and give him new direction. Really well done by Chris Hemsworth, really great by the writers, and just an all-around great performance. Chris Hemsworth rocks. He's so awesome, and I always look forward to anything that he's going to be in. Especially, I'm looking forward to seeing him in the new Men in Black film, International. That should be interesting. So, to throw out a few other mentionable characters and actors that were in this film, we have none other that have been in this film. Returning is Mr. Hawkeye himself, Mr. Jeremy Renner. So this time around, Jeremy Renner has kind of become Ronin, because we learned that his family was part of the first snap. And unfortunately, he's lost all will and stuff like that, and has gone basically crazy kind of, and turned into Ronin. And so we kind of get to see him play that character. And just a great honorable mention in this film that was really awesome, and was really excellent to see him again in the film, because we didn't get to see him in Infinity War at all. Kind of like we didn't get to see Paul Rudd, Mr. Ant-Man, in Infinity War at all, where we got to see him in this one a lot more, which was really awesome. I loved it. Loved his performance, loved him as Ant-Man. I thought he was really fantastic as well. Of course, we also have returning Tom Holland as Mr. Spider-Man. We also have Chadwick Boseman returning as Black Panther. Unfortunately, most of these characters we get to only see a little bit at the end. Of course, you got Dave Bautista coming back. You got, Chris Pratt coming back as Star-Lord. We got to see Gamora some more, which was fun. We also had Kieran Gillian come back as Nebula. Just a huge ensemble cast. We get to see, great Josh Brolin bring back Thanos. We get to see a little bit more of him as well, which is really awesome. Like I said, a huge ensemble cast. Just a really amazing film. Really well done. Really enjoyed it. And everyone involved was just really awesome and amazing. Really fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it in the theaters now. It's worth the watch, people. Really fun. Now, if you're not familiar with what the premise of Endgame is, basically it's dealing with the aftermath of the first snap that Thanos does at the end of Infinity War. And basically the remaining Avengers basically assemble to try to figure out how to fix this and bring back all the fallen. And that's pretty much what the premise of the film is, and, basically how they do it, how they get along with it, and basically where these story arcs kind of begin and end as well, and rounding out some of the characters' story arcs as well. So that's pretty much what Endgame is about. Giving us a finish to Infinity War, giving us a finish to the last 21 films of the Marvel Universe, and, pretty much kind of reintroducing some of the characters to let us know that, these characters will be going on. We'll be seeing more from them, and so forth. Like I said, a fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out in theaters, people. It's worth the watch. Amazing film. Does not feel like 3 hours long. Great visual effects, great music. It just is a all-out action-packed film, and absolutely loved it. I definitely give this one 10 golden movie boxes up. I definitely enjoyed Infinity War a little bit more, so I definitely give Infinity War a giant more 10 golden movie boxes up, but definitely Endgame is worth the film. Can't wait to add it to the collection. Just an all-around well-done film. Definitely, if you haven't seen it, people, go check it out. It's worth the watch. Let's beat Avatar in theaters, yeah! So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. And also, thank you for subscribing. If it's your first time here, if you've been here before and you haven't hit the subscribe button, what are you waiting for? Thanos to snap his fingers again? Come on, people. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss this awesome review or any of the awesome reviews I put up. And as always, people, keep your eyes out for any older, newer videos you might not have seen mine yet. And as always, people, check out the awesome Stardust app where you can watch 3 to 30-second little mini reviews, TV shows, trailers, documentaries, anything your heart desires that has to do with the movie field. And also, this is an awesome free app that you can download from your respective Play Store. So if that interests you, go ahead and download it for free. Make a profile. Look for me under the Cybernetic 13. Follow me, and I'll follow you back. As always, people, catch you in the next one.